Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। 24 असत्ता जाड्य दुःखे द्वे मायारूपं त्रयं त्विदम् असत्ता नरशृङ्गादौ जाड्यं काष्ठशिलादिषु. Having talked about at length about how the existence, which is Brahman, shines in all insentient objects, and the Chit, which is consciousness, sentience, awareness, shines in those bodies that have what is called a subtle aspect to them, subtle body, those beings endowed with a subtle body. The Chit, which is Brahman, shines, and then the Ananda shines when there is a Sattvika guna in the Antahkarana. When the Antahkarana is Sattvik, then the Ananda shines. So in other words, Ananda is the Sattva guna is the carrier of Ananda. This is something that we have seen. Now he brings in a very important concept. What is that? Maya. Vedanta is not complete without Maya. And he had already referred to it, if we recall, and I'll tell you in which verse. Earlier we had that Jaleshu. Yeah. So he had alluded to it when he said in verse number 6, Rupam Rupam Babhuva Asau Pratirupa iti Shrutihi. And so when we look at that whole quotation, Rupam Rupam Babhuva Asau, when we look at the quotation he is alluding to, I told you that there are two quotations, one from the Kathopanishad and the other one from where the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 2.5.18. And what is the whole quotation? Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva Tad Asya Rupam Pratichakshanaya Indro Mayabhihi Pururupam Iyate. So there is this sense that Bhagavan.
Yeah, I am picking your point.
If you can please all mute yourself, keep your video on, it will be nice to see you. That will be nice. Thank you. So, Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva. If we look at the whole quote, Bhagavan with the help of Maya Shakti is talked about at length. And this Maya Shakti, the creative power, coded as feminine because of the creativity, because of its job to create. Now, Maya itself is a Maya itself is an as though power. Yeah. We can't say that Maya is an entity, another entity, because then we will not have Advaita. We will not have Advaita at all. Why won't we have Advaita? Because if Maya is a separate entity, and then, Brahman comes along and Maya says to Brahman, can we be friends? Can we make this Jagat together? No. Then there will be two entities, and then we may as well close up shop, because there is no non-duality to even imagine, let alone study. Not possible. Where is the non-duality? Non-duality is not there. How is it there? It is not there at all. And so, for this non-duality to take place and to be something to study, we say that this power is Kalpita Shakti. Kalpita means what? Kalpita means an imaginary power. This imaginary power, Maya. What is Maya? Yama sa Maya. She who is all knowledge is called Maya. She who is all knowledge. And all knowledge for whom? From the standpoint of the creator of the Jagat, she is all knowledge. From the standpoint of the individual, she manifests as ignorance. That is what is standing in between Jiva and Ishvara. The so-called disconnect, the so-called alienation, the so-called separation, and the ensuing separation anxiety is all because of Maya. This Maya comes as though blesses Brahman with the power to create, sustain and take back, and the same Maya blesses the individual with ignorance. Why does this happen? Because the individual ignorance is a collective manifestation, so to speak. The Avarna Shakti, two Shaktis Maya has. One is Avarna Shakti. Avarna, the power to cover. The covering power is called Avarna. Covers what? Covers the fact that you are the whole. Covers the fact that you are one with Ishvara. This is what is ignorance. The Avarna. Avarna is another name for ignorance. Covers the fact that there is nothing other than you. The trees are you, the flowers are you, the seasons are you, the five elements are you, the birds are you, all animal forms are you, other people are you. People you don't like are also an extension of you. So therefore, this is Maya. How does this happen? Well, even Bhagavan Krishna also says, Pashyame yogam aishwaram. Look at my Maya. Look at this magic. It is sheer magic, he says in the 9th chapter. First he says, Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. In me alone all beings have their being. They, so to speak, reside in me, preside in me. In me is their original abode. And then, but I am not taking any kind of refuge in them. They take refuge in me. Then, having said that, he immediately contradicts himself in the very next line by saying, Nacha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram bhuta brinnacha bhutastha mamatma bhuta bhavanah. Fantastic. So we cannot go away with the thinking that Bhagavan is the holder, like a big, big pot, and all of us, all the jivas are in Bhagavan's pot, secure, safe, and at the same time fighting with one another. We cannot go away with this kind of an understanding. This is detrimental to the vision. Why? Because then there is again two: Ashraya, the refuge, and Ashrita, that which takes refuge. There is the duality. There are two. And therefore, he says, it may look like I am the protector of everyone, it may look like on the empirical level, and on the absolute level, the Paramarthika level, it will look like as though my being alone is the only being, and I am lending my being for everyone. My Satta, my Spurti, my Satchit Ananda is their Satchit Ananda. Then it is very easy to think that one is in the lap of Bhagavan, etc., etc. This is nice to imagine from the standpoint of bhakti, and to console oneself that I am in the lap of Bhagavan. Oh, how nice, very nice. There is a sense of immediate security. That is okay as a prayer and as an attitude of devotion, as a devotional attitude. But this is not knowledge. Because if this is not Advaita, because then there will be two, Ashraya and Ashrita. Bhagavan's lap and you sleeping in Bhagavan's lap. There are two things. So, therefore, Bhagavan Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita contradicts this immediately. Nacha matsthane bhutani. Nothing is in me at all. There is nothing outside of me that is quote unquote in me. And there is no one else other than me. Look at this magic. Look at this magic. Pashyame yogam aishwaram. Bhuta bhrit. I am that Satchidananda which is there everywhere, which carries all the bhutas, carries again within quotes, but na cha bhutastha. I have not become the elements, I have not become the people. So this is a very important distinction. So therefore, Maya cannot be a competitor to Brahman, a parallel reality to Brahman, or something else other than something else to Brahman, because all there is Brahman. Then how did Maya come? She did not come. We say that because she is not separate from Ishvara. So how can you say where did she come from? She is him, he is her. There is no difference. That's why all the devatas in the temple are happily married. We always see invoke Bhagavan with their respective spouses. And even if we have some figures like Lord Dakshinamurti, one side itself is female, feminine. And so that is Shakti. So this is or even the other form is Ardhanarishvara. There also, one side is feminine, the other side is masculine. And so we don't make this distinction. So how did Maya come? Where did she come from? And so this is only to explain the Jagat. For those who are, what is that called? Jagadvadin means only talks about Jagat. Samsara Vadinaha talks about samsara, talks about the Jagat endlessly, and is obsessed or rather preoccupied with where did this Jagat come from? Where did it come from? Where was it before? People like this, people get caught up there because people like the origin stories. And being an individual cut off from Ishvara, or at least feeling cut off from Ishvara, then these origin stories give a little bit of a happiness. Oh, I belong to Ishvara. This is how Maya came. First Akasha came, then Vayu came, then Agni came, then water came, then earth came. All this you can memorize and then, teach other people. But the Vedanta Shastra has Tatparya. Tatparya means commitment. Commitment is not there. The commitment is not to the cosmology. The commitment is not to explain Maya and where she came from. That's why, as far as we can see, only in 2 Upanishads, that too in just 1 verse each, the Maya is talked about. So the commitment is not trying to have a cosmology of the universe, which element came first and where did this jiva come from, etc., etc. The tatparya, or the commitment, is not to explain this intermediary as though force Maya. That is not the vision of Vedanta. The vision of Vedanta is to understand that you are the whole, you are non-separate from the source of this universe. And the source of this universe, vis-a-vis this universe, has also been endowed with a causality. That same consciousness, Satchidananda Atma, is endowed with a causality vis-a-vis the universe whenever the universe is manifest. And then endowed with its causality, then what happens? Endowed with the causality, then we have some kind of a force. A force who is the king of the universe, Ishvara. And then, from the standpoint of the individual, the same individual is endowed with ignorance, so to speak. Ignorance, mithya. And all knowledge, sarvavetritvam, sarvajnaha, sarvajnanam, sarvavetritvam, also mithya. Mithya doesn't mean false, we saw this earlier. Mithya means a dependent reality. So, the discussion of Maya is pertinent only when one says, or one observes, I am ignorant and I need to be free. Then we talk about Maya, because there is a problem. There is a problem. And what is the problem? I don't know the truth of myself. That is the problem. That is when we say, then this avarna has to be got rid of. Where did it come from? Really speaking, it did not come. That's why ajnanam is anadi, no beginning. It did not come, it is here. It is here because it is experienced. Alienation is experienced. A sense of feeling cut off is experienced. I don't know myself. Ignorance is painfully experienced. And the broods of ignorance, such as fear, sorrow, and terror, are also experienced. That is the only reason we have to deal with Maya. From the standpoint of Paramarthika, what Maya? Where is Maya? There is no Maya. All that is there is Bhagavan. You are that Bhagavan. Chapter closed. Finished. But Maya is important because of Avarna. From the standpoint of the individual's day-to-day reality, the experiential reality, the empirical reality, then Maya has a place. Well, what is the place? The place to see how did this one become many? Vikshepa Shakti. And also the 3 gunas. She is in charge of the 3 gunas. We saw that earlier. So that is all part of Vikshepa. She puts everyone in a guna costume, and then one is not able to recognize Ishvara as a result of taking the costume to be real. Then what? Next comes the discussion of the Avarana Shakti of Maya, which is one's own self-ignorance, the covering power Again we have to put as though. The as though covering as though power. Why did you put two as thoughs? For good measure. Neither the covering is real nor the power is real from the standpoint of the absolute Paramarthika Satta. The as though power to as though cover, whose authoress is Maya. And that Maya, what does it do? It keeps one alienated, it keeps one afraid, it keeps one wanting, and it keeps one believing the lies about oneself, that I am not good enough, that I am not famous enough, that I haven't accomplished enough, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like my body, I don't like my mind, I don't like my senses. It makes one hypercritical. This is the problem. The problem of this Avarna Shakti is that one disapproves of oneself. There is self-loath and a hypercritical attitude. So therefore, here the author brings back Maya in verse number 24 and talks about how to make progress, how to make spiritual progress or progress in one's spiritual growth by doing upekshana. Upekshana means neglecting and setting aside Maya and all her shenanigans, and then go straight to contemplating Ishvara as the truth of oneself, as Satchidananda. And so Maya means here the creative power that is manifest as the Jagat. So in verse number 24, let us see Asatta. Asatta here means non-existence. And then Jadyam, inertness. And then the Jadya and Dukkha. Dukkha, of course, is misery, sorrow. First is Asatta, and then Jadya Dukkhe. Jadya Dukkhe means these two, Jadya and Dukkha, together, these two plus Asatta form idam, these three form Maya's Swarupa. The nature of Maya, we are just translating, we will take up the verse properly. The nature of Maya is a non-existence. And then what? Jadya, inert. And then Dukkha, the cause of sorrow. This is what is talked about. Cause of sorrow. The cause of sorrow, and then the Asatta, absence of consciousness, as good as non-existence. Jadya means what? Inert. Dukkha, sorrow. These are the ingredients belonging to Maya Shakti. And then he gives an example. But first, if we understand the first line, the second line will come very, very easily. This first line can be quite confusing if we just read it, because it really makes no sense. First reason it doesn't make sense is because first we are looking at three things, but then he somehow clubs together Jadya Dukkha, Jadya Dukkhe. These two, inertness and sorrow, are clubbed together, and then this inertness and sorrow, these two are highlighted, dve, these two, and then he goes on to say Mayayaha Rupam, Maya's form, Trayam tu idam, and then he brings in asatta also, and then he says these three constitute the nature of Maya. The nature of Maya. And then, so what is the thing here? See, asatta here just means that there is no Maya Shakti seen from the standpoint of the raw material. The raw material which is in the form of knowledge, and which is the manifest universe. So what is the manifest universe? The manifest universe is simply magic. So that knowledge, the effect of that knowledge is in the form of so many words and meanings, name and form. And if you suspend the presence of Brahman in and through all the names and forms which we are talking about, what do you see? Asatta, a dream-like world. You see a dream-like world. Why? Because as soon as you inquire into it, it goes away. It disappears. Asatta. Meaning, you say, okay, what are you wearing? Shirt. Oh, what is this shirt? It is made of cotton or silk shirt. So what is this silk? Fabric. Can you have a shirt without fabric? Obviously not. So the fabric has lent its presence to quote unquote become the shirt. So the shirt is nothing but fabric. You look into the shirt disappears. And if someone argues, no, the shirt is still an entity, I will invite them to keep the shirt but give me the fabric. Well, what are you going to do? Not possible. Not possible to do. Same thing. Pot is clay. No, pot is not clay. Pot is pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, pot 4, pot. If you start counting, then I will say, please keep the pot. Give me the clay. Then you can't oblige. The weight of pot is the weight of clay. The color of pot is the color of clay. The whole being of pot is nothing but clay. The entire being of the shirt is nothing but fabric. So then we have a strange cause-effect scenario. Shirt is effect. And then what? Fabric is cause. Then the Vedanta students tries to take notes. Oh, thank God I found out cause and effect. Okay, shirt is equal to effect. Fabric is equal to cause. No sooner than you have written it down, then the teacher says, what is the truth of fabric? What is this fabric? If you think fabric is the ultimate cause, then you are spinning a yarn, because the truth of fabric is yarn, silken yarns. And then what? Then the yarn also is, then you write down, okay, now the new cause is yarn and the new effect is fabric. And no sooner than you have written it down, this is the note-taking dilemma for Vedanta students. As soon as you've written it down, then the teacher says, what? What is the truth of the yarn? This is, silkworm saliva. That is what yarn is. How else to explain it? It is silkworm saliva. Silkworm saliva, and then that is the yarn. Okay, silkworm is the cause, and then this one, the yarn is the effect. No? Where did the silkworm come from? Silkworm came from all these, these caterpillars, which then turned into a moth, silkworm moth. And so, and the moth, the silkworm, is eats all kinds of leaves. and then gets very fat and soft, and then somewhere a bird is congratulating itself for being the early bird, and this is juicy breakfast. It's looking at the silkworm, but before it can go there, then the silkworm spins something around itself to become safe. Pupa, like it just makes itself, it spins some kind of a secretion, and then it just goes, sits there safe until it has a certain transformation into a moth, a butterfly. So the silkworm came from where? The eggs of the previous silkworm. Those eggs came from where? The eggs of the previous silkworm. We'll be here all day, okay, if we keep on doing this. So where is this? Maya has no location. Maya is eminently, you cannot categorically say she exists. You never see Maya, you only see the effects. Think about this. And the effects are also, what kind of effects? The effects disappear, at least cognitively, as soon as you inquire into them. Everything is like that. Even within your own body, mind, sense complex. What is this body? Wherever the sensation of skin, the touch is, that is what is called body. That is the difference between one body and the next. If you look at the difference between one body and another body, then the main difference is that the sense of touch. So the difference from one body to another body, we can say, is skin deep. There is only sense of touch. This is me, I exist here, and then I don't exist here in between the fingers. Not me. Again, this is me, not me. This is me, not me. Me, not me, not me, not me. Me, not me. How strange. Then you look into the skin. Is it a whole entity? No. Then you have also layers, epidermis, dermis, this, that, all those, what should I say, fourth grade lessons, fourth grade science lessons. That also is not there. Ultimately, whatever you look into is as good as not there, because you cannot find its origins. And as soon as you look at it, it disappears. Drishta nashta svabhavaha. Same thing. How does sight take place? Nobody knows. Oh, no, the doctors know. What do they know? They will just say, okay, they will draw the retina, they will draw how it is projecting, and then anything you ask, you go and ask, why is there a condition called glaucoma? They will say, we are still looking into it. We don't know. We just know that if it affects either the men or the women more, and it affects people over 60, we know these things like that. We can just observe and gather some data. We don't know why. Everything is like that. Every disease is like that. You ask about cancer. Why does this tumor exist? Oh, the cells are multiplying like crazy. Why did the cells go crazy? We don't know. They will not say we don't know. Because they're taking a lot of money from you to know. So therefore they'll say something. We're looking into it. This is a syndrome. We can't quite say why this happened. So there is no where for Maya. There is no why for Maya. And there is no Maya. Really speaking, it's all Ishvara. So Maya is Asat. This is taking it to another level. After what? After taking down the notes from an earlier retreat, which defined Maya as Sad Asadbhyam Anirvachya, that which cannot be categorically referred to as either Sat or Asat. This is what we said was Maya. Correct? In an earlier retreat, this is what we had said. And no sooner you put the pen to paper or took the notes on your computer, then here comes Swami Vidyaranya with a more fine-tuned and sophisticated understanding of Maya. And what is the definition of Jagat? Jayate is born, Gacchati is gone. And Maya is just the effect. And if Maya is the effect, and the Jagat is made up of two words, Ja and Ga, standing for is born and is gone, so the Jagat is as good as gone, as good as not there. So, Vedanta 101 is looking at Maya as neither existent nor non-existent, trapped or caught in between existence and non-existence, because that whose effects cannot be dismissed and yet cannot be affirmed is Maya. This is Vedanta 101. And what is Swami Vidyaranya giving here? Vedanta 501, a big quantum leap, seen from the standpoint of Paramarthika, the absolute reality. Then what? Then there is, what is there? There is nothing. You inquire into it, it collapses. Drishta nashta svabhavaha. As soon as you look at it, it self-destructs. Look at it with the eyes of Viveka, and then it self-destructs. How do the eyes see? Nobody knows. There are some good guesses. Then why some eyes don't see? Nobody knows. Any branch of knowledge you take. What is this? A flower. Okay, good. What kind of flower? This is a daisy. Okay, this is a daisy. That much you know. And then what? Why does the petals of the daisy look like this? But the petals of the rose are in a different shape. I don't know. You shrug your shoulders like a teenager. I don't know. Then why is why is it in different colors? I don't know. How come there are many colors for the flower that is called carnation, but not for the daisy? I don't know. There are more I don't knows than I know. Everything is like that. You inquire into it and then you find out that you are looking at something that is not even there, whose answers are not there. So Maya here, presented as asatta, that which is not really there, from the standpoint of the Paramarthika reality. We don't make the distinction. First there is Paramarthika, then there is Vyavaharika. Vyavaharika means empirical reality. And then there is, what is the other one? Pratibhasika, which is one's own subjective projections over the empirical reality. Subjective reality, a totally subjective solipsistic reality based on one's deep likes and dislikes. So therefore, this is something which one has to really understand properly. Because from the standpoint of Paramarthika, all that is there is Brahman. All that is there is Satchidananda. All that is there, in other words, is you. Where did your body come from? Not important. Where did your mind come from? Not important. Where are your senses going? Not important. So from that standpoint, Maya is asatta. Asatta means that which really doesn't exist. From the reality standpoint, it doesn't exist. You see its effects, but there is no such item that you can buy in the market called Maya. Then we have two other attributes here. Very ingenious way of looking at Maya, I might add. So what is the other the two other attributes? The first one is called Jadya Swabhava, Jada, inert. Whereas Ishvara, Brahman, sentient. Opposite of inert. Opposite of inert is not earth, okay? Yeah, it is sentient. So, in other words, that which we call an effect does not have sentience. There is no sentience. Jadya, Jada, because when you see the Jagat is Jada. No, now you are contradicting yourself. Because in the previous verse, 20, 21, whatever we were looking at, we said everything is Brahman. Yes, everything is indeed is Brahman. But remember how we started this discussion. We said if we were to suspend Satchidananda and just look at the names and forms, what do you see? You see Jadya. You see inertness. And you see each thing is as good as not there. There is a very nice story told about a student who approaches the teacher, a Zen master, for knowledge, and then brings the teacher a gift. A very nice bone china cup with a lid for the teacher to drink his tea. And the Zen master says, "Oh, nice cup. Too bad it is broken." The student freaks out. No, I've spent all my savings on it. How can it be broken? And I looked very carefully. "Master, do you mind? Can I hold it and see?" Yeah, take it. It is broken. I already told you, I have no use for it. It's broken. And the student examines it properly, looks at it above, below, inside, up, down, handle, lid, everything. There's not even a chip inside. And then gives it back to the teacher and says, No, you must be mistaken, teacher. The cup is certainly not broken. And look, I'll make you tea and bring in it, and you'll see there is no leakage. There's not even a chip or a crack, let alone breakage. And the teacher insists for the third time, indeed, the cup is broken. like the bones. The bone china is also subject to osteoporosis, and it is broken. And then the student who has some shraddha thinks, okay, maybe this is a lesson. The master is giving me a lesson. And indeed it was a lesson. It is as good as broken. It is as good as broken because that is its destiny. That is the destiny of every single thing, the object that is finite here. It's as good as broken. It's as good as gone. That's why the whole Jagat is Jayate Gacchati iti Jagat. Born is gone Jagat. It's as good as gone. And the teacher saw through the wonderful hand painting, the glaze and the thin china and everything, and declared it to be broken. If it's not broken now, it will break someday. That was the lesson. Drishta nashta swabhavatvat. And then, when something breaks, what happens? Sorrow arises. That's why the Jadya and the Dukkha are put together. Yeah. Jadya, inert, finite, subject to destruction, and when the fate befalls all the Nama-rupas which are Jada, then what happens? What is another effect of Maya, this time manifesting in the heart, in the Antakarana of the Jiva, is total sorrow. These are, quote unquote, the nature of Maya. These constitute the nature of Maya. these also are just, they are just, what is the word for it? Maya Rupam Trayamidam. And so they are as good as Maya, in the sense they are as good as non-existent. So asatta, jadyam and dukkha. First, it's not even existent. And second, it is inert, which means whatever is there is an appearance, and that appearance is put together and it is finite. And relating to that finite appearance, one is sad. It brings sorrow because it is always ending. It is always destructing itself, destroying itself. So therefore, this is what the effects of Maya on the world and in the individual psyche are. Then what is asatta? He gives an example. Narashringadav, the horns of the human being. Do human beings have horns? No. They are not horses, they are not goat or deer, so they don't have horns. But, so this is an abstraction, this is not a reality. This is, so non-existent means like the horns of a person, which you cannot see unless there is some kind of a mythological figure. Horns of a person do not exist. Similarly, Maya as the cause is avyakrita, unmanifest, cannot be seen, as good as not there. Especially for a person of knowledge, there is no Maya. From the standpoint of the one living in Paramarthika, what Maya? No Maya. Then he gives another example, Jadyam, inert as in insentient things, kashtha shiladishu, absence of sentience, inertness. Kashtha shiladishu, kashtha, a lump piece of wood, shila, a rock. And earlier it was said, which verse was that? Let us see. Earlier it was said that verse number 20, satta chitihi sukham. Look at verse number 20. Satta, that existence, chitihi, sentience, and sukham, anantyam, ananta. These are Brahman's threefold swarupa. And now let us look at this verse which we are on right now. Satta, opposite of satta. And then there it was chitihi, sentience, awareness. Here it is jadyam. There it was sukha. Here it is dukkha. Do you see this particular construction? It is talking about the difference between Brahman and Maya. Maya here, expressed in the antahkarana of the individual, is totally opposite of Brahman. That is why it is kept like this. It's a very nice juxtaposition. So, and then earlier it was also mentioned one more thing, that in Mrit and Shiladishu, satta eva vyajyate na itarat dvayam. In the 20th verse, so satta eva vyajyate, satta alone is manifest. Existence alone of Brahman, existence in the form of Brahman is manifest in the Mrit. What is Mrit? In the clay, stone, wood, etc. And then not chitihi or sukham. That was already pointed out. So here jadyam, the form of the stone or the wood, are nothing but jada, inert. So he is giving us examples of that which is not present at all, and then of that which is completely inert. So this is setting up for what is going to come now. As I said, the point is not to focus on Maya, but its effects. And here also in the next verse we are going to study, I think here in Sanskrit the word 24 comes twice. That's a mistake. Okay, so this one is verse 24. घोरमूढादियोर् दुःखम् एवं माया विजृम्भिता घोरमूढादियोर् दुःखम् एवं माया विजृम्भिता शान्तादि बुद्धिर्वृत्त्यैक्यात् मिश्रं ब्रह्मेति कीर्तितम् शान्तादि बुद्धिवृत्त्यैक्यात् मिश्रं ब्रह्मेति कीर्तितम्. In the buddhi, we can't say blessed by, but endowed with ghora and moodha vrittis. And what is there in the rajasic and tamasic vrittis of the buddhi? What happens? There is sorrow. And the sorrow is associated with Brahman or Maya? Quick quiz. What have we studied? Obviously Maya, not Brahman. Correct? Because how do we know? Because we just studied it in the previous verse. So, in the buddhi, which is endowed with ghora vritti and moodha vritti. Ghora vritti means what? Rajasic vrittis and tamasic vrittis. Then Maya is stretching herself. Jrimb means to stretch. So she is occupying a lot of space in the buddhi, demanding a cup of tea and saying, I am a guest. You need to take care of me. I have come and sat in this buddhi because you invited me. And so I am not going. I am a guest. And then what will the individual say? No, you are no guest. You are in fact a pest. There is a slight difference sometimes. And then please leave. And that is when Patha Vedantam, study Vedanta with a teacher. That is what is given. And so Ghora Moodha Dhiyoho Dukkham Mayaya Vijrimbhita is created by the blossoming Maya. Maya is getting fat, like the caterpillar sitting in your buddhi, eating your buddhi for its sustenance and proliferating. What is that? Rajas and tamas. And then what? And she is spreading. Jrim also means to spread, to stretch, to occupy space, to blossom, to bloom. So Maya is doing all that in your buddhi. And then because this Maya is manifest and because the buddhi is identified with the rajas, tamas, sattva, etc., shantadi buddhi vritti aikyatvat. Aikyatvat means because of its identification. It means whose? Brahman. Brahman is as though identified with the buddhi. Remember, we have moved from the Pratibimbavada to Avachedavada. So here we are talking about the as though conditioned Brahman. By the identification with the Sattvika vritti, Tamasika vritti, etc., then this kind of Brahman, Mishram Brahma iti iritam. This is mixed up Brahman, mixed up with Maya, where Sukham and Dukkham exist side by side, mixed up as it were by Maya, not really mixed up. And so the mixed up Brahman is really conditioned Brahman, as though conditioned by name and form, as though conditioned by the buddhi vrittis. So what he is trying to get us to do is to make some kind of a cognitive separation, which is not all that easy as it turns out, between Maya and Brahman. So first he sets up a definition for Brahman based on the Upanishad. And what is that? Satta. Everything that exists is Brahman. And then what else? Chitihi, sentience. all knowledge. And then Sukham, unimpeded, uninhibited joy, happiness, in other words, limitlessness. This is Brahman. And then the intervening factor, which is the cause for the Jagat, is Maya. And what is Maya, if you ask? He says that which doesn't really exist, as opposed to that which is the source of all existence. That which is inert, only seen as the effect, and that which is the cause of sorrow, not Sukham, this is Maya. And then what? And then this Maya, what does she do? She goes and paints the buddhi in the colors of sattva, rajas and tamas. And what is this buddhi? Nothing other than Brahman. And what is sattva? Nothing other than Brahman. What is rajas? Nothing other than Brahman. But Brahman is not tamas, Brahman is not sattva, Brahman is not rajas. And so therefore what? So therefore this is Brahman as though conditioned by Maya. Brahman as though conditioned by the intellect, the buddhi, which has come under the spell of all the three gunas. This is what we have to understand. Ghora mudha dhiyoho dukkham eva maya vijrimbhita. So the sorrow in the mind we can blame on the avarna shakti of Maya, because the sorrow is connected directly to not knowing the truth of oneself. And so the rajasic, tamasic thoughts, etc., vrittis are responsible for the sorrow, and the rajas and tamas is of course the creation of Maya. And then what does he say? Verse number, the next one, whatever it is, 25. Evam sthitotrayo brahma dhyatum icchet pumanasau. Evam sthitetrayo brahma dhyatum icchet pumanasau. Nrishringadimupeksheta shishtam dhyayed yatha yatham. Nrishringadimupeksheta shishtam dhyayed yatha yatham. This is beginning, verse number 25 is beginning a new section within the chapter. And in this section, he is going to teach us some kinds of contemplations, practices for contemplation. And he is going to say what to do in order to not give Maya the time of day in one's everyday life. How to skip over Maya and go straight to Brahman. He is going to teach some chintanams. Chintanam means the contemplation. Here it says dhyayet, may one concentrate. So evam sthite means this being the nature of what? Brahman and Maya. Evam sthite atra, this being the nature of Brahman and Maya. Wherever there is Maya, what is the nature? Wherever there is Maya, there is Brahman. But wherever there is Brahman, no Maya is there. The opposite cannot be said to be true. And we have seen this time and again. Wherever there is pot, there is clay, but then clay, wherever there is clay, you cannot say there is pot. It doesn't work both ways. Maya itself depends on Brahman, Jagat depends on Maya. Your body also is part of the Jagat, the body mind sense complex is also part of the Jagat. That too depends on Maya, which in turn depends on Brahman. And then so seems like Maya has put herself right in the middle. And so how do you get around Maya in order to have contemplations of Brahman? This is what is going to be the next section. Very nice, very interesting section. And then so he says, Evam sthite atra. In this way, we have seen how the two are mixed up. So whatever I encounter is Brahman, but in the form of Maya. and I am sad, I am miserable, all these things. And then whatever I encounter is Brahman, but I am miserable because I am identified with Maya in the form of Ghora and Tamasika vrittis. So this being the case, meaning there is Mishram Brahma. This Brahman is as though sadly, badly, madly mixed up with Maya. What to do now? Intellectually, cognitively, please separate, he says. So, yaha, the person, dhyatum icchet. Dhyatum icchet, the one who desires to contemplate. The person, yaha puman, that person, asau, the one who decides to desires to contemplate, to contemplate, dhyatum icchet, on what? Brahman, of course, or on the truth of oneself. What should one do? Nrishringadim upeksheta. Ignore, neglect. What? Things that have no existence. Neglect them, put them aside, do not give them fodder. In other words, pull the rug that Maya is sleeping on in your guest room. Pull the blanket off of her. She says, I have just begun to bloom and grow, and I am stretching in your buddhi. Kick her out. Ignore her completely. And then what? Then focus only on Brahman. Don't focus on anything else other than Brahman. This is again a cognitive separation. Nrishringa adim, things that do not exist, like the horns of a person. Even if you were to see the horns of a person in a dream, it is, upon waking, it's a dream. You don't give it the time of day. You go about your day. Just like that, be the Brahman that you are. Not the Maya that is apparently catching hold of you. It is just an apparent reality. It is as good as not there. And this is what the parents do with a problem child. They ignore the child. It's having a tantrum. And the parents say to one another, don't go right now. Let her stop crying. Let him stop crying. Then we will go and see what this thing. Don't go right now. It will be a bad habit. Ignore. After that, she'll be okay. He'll be okay. They'll come around. And it's the same thing. Maya is a problem child. Why? Because there is one Maya Panchakam. Aghatita ghatana patiyasi Maya. Oh, clever Maya, you make the impossible possible. And so here, this Maya is very clever, and I might add, manipulative, because it just sucks you into her so totally that you forget the truth of yourself, and then one forgets who one is. One forgets that one is a Vedantin, and one forgets that, self-knowledge is important for one. And one has a spell of identifying with Maya and her after effects in the form of rajas, tamas, etc. And one is either self-critical or critiques others. One is unforgiving of oneself or unforgiving of others. One polices oneself or polices others. These are all ghora vrittis, ghora modha vrittis in practice. And then what happens is that you just don't know where Brahman is. Brahman doesn't have the pressure to make itself manifest. First of all, it is not objectifiable. It is you. So therefore, how to contemplate on that which is yourself alone? You cannot contemplate on something which is not other than you, which is yourself alone. How on earth to do that? And that is why here he gives a clue. He gives 3-4 kinds, we will be seeing this, he gives 2-3 kinds of meditations. So he says, Atra evam sthite, this being the situation that Brahman and Maya are mixed up. Brahman, the kind of Brahman you see, is the one that is endowed with Maya Shakti. So then what to do? Here he gives a clue. He says, anything that is non-existent ultimately, ignore it like a problem child. Shishtam, whatever is left after you remove cognitively, of course, don't try to do this literally, after you remove the name and form, because if you try to do it literally, you'll have to jump out of your body. I don't want you to do that. And you'll have to jump out of your mind also. That is no fun. And so here, so you cognitively set aside, in the process of self-enquiry, cognitively set aside all that does not belong, all that is as good as finite, as good as non-existent. And then what do you get? Shishtam, whatever remains and doesn't go, dhyayet yatha yatham. Contemplate on that which is left behind. In fact, this is what the teacher in the Viveka Chudamani tells the student. Anything that is subject to finitude, put it aside. What remains, tell me. And the student gets a panic attack. The student says, after eliminating everything, nothing is left, O Guru. Nothing at all is left. Does that mean I am a big zero? The teacher says, no. What about the one that says nothing is left? Are you sentient or not? Are you existent or not? Well, let me think about it. Yes, I think I am existent. If you are existent, then that is what is left. If you are sentient, that is what is left. And you are limitless, that is what is left. So, discard the name and form, the word and meaning, and focus on, contemplate on Satchidananda. That is exactly what he is saying. And then, he will tell us how to do that step by step. So, this is a very interesting way, very practical way to immediately have an objective perception of things in the empirical reality. Otherwise, it's a subjective perception filled with some kind of a shobhana adhyasa, where one attributes one's sukha to the object rather than the subject. This transference is there. How to withdraw the transference is a very, very important topic and very practically given here. How to withdraw this transference which is already there on all finite objects, and how to live in the world objectively with vairagya. Because from the standpoint of the empirical world, one doesn't live in Ishvara's creation, Ishvara Srishti. One lives only in one's own creation, Jiva Srishti. This is talked about at length in the same Panchadasi, chapter 4. So, one lives in Jiva Srishti. So, the Ishvara Srishti is as it is, and over that is an overlay of the individual's raga and dvesha, which colors the universe into I love this, I hate this, I want this, I don't want this. This is good, this is bad. This is how one's world is crafted, through the overlay of subjectivity. It is not that Brahman is not knowable. In fact, it's the only thing that is knowable. It's the only thing that is teachable. Because it is you. Everything else is other than you. Supposing someone came from another planet, and then we gave them, let us say, they came to, somewhere where there was some sweet. We gave them a gulab jamun to eat. What is this? Before they ate, they somehow made some sign language, or we were able to communicate. What is this? Through some computer we are able to communicate. They ask the question, what is this? And we tell them, this is a sweet dish. What is sweet? Try to explain what is sweet. You can say, that which tastes very good. That's all. You can't explain what is sweet. You can't communicate what is sweet. You'll just have to say, please taste it. That taste which you get is what is sweet. Supposing they don't have taste buds, they like you, they will never understand. Brahman is easily communicable because it is you. It is self-evident. It is the self-evident self, upon which there are layers of ajnanam and anyatha jnanam, all these things. Self-ignorance is there and a projection is there, all these things are there. That is what has to be removed. So this is the contemplation that he is going to teach and he is going to suggest, because he says that, that one is living in this personal reality. Because of the effect of Maya in the form of Atma Ajnanam, one is living in a personal, crafted reality. And in this reality, what is there? There is just a big headache. The personal, private reality is a total headache. And what kind of a headache? A headache that is like a migraine. Chronic. And the migraine, why is it called? Because it is not someone else's grain. You only have to bear with it. That's why it is called my own grain. That's what it is. So this is exactly the problem with seeing the Jagat in a subjective way, living in one's own subjective reality, which is the cause of sorrow. Poor Maya, what can she do? Brahman, of course, doesn't do anything. So we can blame Rajoguna, but that Rajoguna is what? Is nothing other than one's own raga and dvesha. Rajoguna is the carrier of raga and dvesha, so is tamoguna. So therefore, this rajas and tamas, when we are able to take care of them, we are firmly living in Ishvara's world, not in a world of one's own making. This is very, very crucial to understand, extremely important. One is not living in a subjective world. That is why it is important to look at objects for what they are: finite, inert, and causing sorrow. So you start looking at everything that surrounds you in your house. Start with the objects first, and then see that, okay, finite, inert, and a potential cause of sorrow, like the broken cup that was presented to the teacher. Everything you see, all your favorite things. Oh, but that's so depressing. You'll be surprised. It's not depressing at all. There'll be a sense of relief in seeing things for what they are, because jnanam is always joyous. Ignorance is depressing, not knowledge. So when you have yathartha jnanam, what is that called? A knowledge that is objective, not a subjective knowledge, an objective knowledge, there is relief. And again, the conduct and the behavior also changes accordingly. You may still like that object, but you will not depend on it. You will not act as though your life depended on it. There is a freedom in relating to it. Similarly, one learns freedom in relating to people. Not freedom from relationship, freedom in relationship. By giving everything the space to be what it is. And this is how one grows out of the hold of tamasic and rajasic vrittis, and grows out of the effect of Maya as ajnanam and subjectivity. More we'll see next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.